Hello, welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be working on this beautiful tumbler. This was actually going to be a Christmas designed tumbler. However, I ran out of time, and so I decided this is going to be, it would be good for Valentine's Day as well. But this is actually going to just be a cute we're going to be using this floral vinyl, and I had this little decal, "'Tis so sweet to trust in Jesus." I think that's so cute. So I know there's not a lot of pink in this floral, and I don't know how well it shows up on camera as far as like the colors. I have had this for several years. In fact, I don't think they're even still in business. But anyway, there is some pink here and here that when the vinyl is applied over top of these glitter colors, you can really see it pulls that pink out. So we're going to use this. This is actually a semi-transparent vinyl, and if you're not familiar with what that terminology means, it's basically transparent except for where like the florals are. So it's not completely transparent, but it is transparent enough that you will be able to see the glitter. And I wanted to use a tapered tumbler because all too often we use, straight, skinny tumblers, and sorry, hold on. My cat is meowing to get in. Hold on one second. JJ. Be quiet, buddy. And the straight tumblers are fine, but I wanted to show you guys how you can use a tapered or curved tumbler and still be able to use vinyl, especially with a pattern like this where it's sort of busy and not perfect. So we're going to work with this, and like I said, we're going to use this little decal unless I change my mind. But this needs another coat of epoxy. I can still feel some of the glitter. And basically, I wouldn't really call this an ombre, although the white does go up into the pink some. The red goes up into the white a little bit, and there's some pink that's drifted down as well. But it isn't a perfect ombre. But again, this was going to be a cute Christmas tumbler. So this was going to be what we used. This one is a transparent one, and this one's a solid one. So let's see if I can get it peeled back. Yeah. So see, this is the difference in a semi-transparent and a transparent, because on this one it is a transparent. So even where the design is, you can see through it. Whereas on the semi-transparent, you can't see through the flowers. So, but anyway, so I was going to use these two vinyls with some of the decal, some of the elements that came with the vinyls. But like I said, we have like 1,001 different things going on these days. So, it's been difficult to get a video out, to say the least. So, I appreciate everyone sticking around and continuing to subscribe to my channel, because I am going to try to, my plan is to try to post more than every couple of months. So yeah, so that's my plan. But for now, what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add the second coat of epoxy on this tumbler, and when it has cured, we will be back, and the next step is just adding your semi-transparent vinyl. Now, if you do not have semi-transparent vinyl, that's quite okay. You can use a transparent vinyl. You can even use a stencil. So if you have a cut file that is like a stencil cut file, you can cut on some vinyl of your choice and then just apply it the same way we're going to apply this to the tumbler. And then you can just use the stencil as like a semi-transparent option. I hope that makes sense. If not, leave me a comment and I may try to do like a demonstration of what I'm trying to explain. But for the purposes of this tutorial, we're using semi-transparent vinyl and glitter. I love that pink and red together. I think that's so pretty. But anyway, and I will link everything for you. Like I said, I don't think that the company I purchased this from is still in business, but there are a lot of other vinyl companies that I purchased from, and I will link some of them for you. And of course, I will link all the glitters that I use. A lot of the products that I use may not be available any longer because I purchased these items several years ago, and so I still have a lot of product that I'm trying to use up. But again, there are other companies out there, and I can link some of those for you as well. So with all of that being said, let's go ahead and get a coat of epoxy on this tumbler. We're going to use probably about 30 milliliters. And one thing I do want to tell you real quick. The way that I applied the glitter on this tumbler is I put my epoxy down and then put my glitter and let that cure. You do not want to sand the tumbler at this point because you will sand the glitter off, or you can sand the coloring on the glitter off. So always make sure when you are going to sand your tumbler, be sure that the bumps that you feel are like epoxy bumps and not glitter, because you do not want to sand your glitter away or sand the coloring off of the glitter. So just a little tip there if you are a beginner, something to kind of look out for, and be sure that when you are sanding your tumblers, you are just sanding the epoxy smooth and you're not sanding any of the glitter off. So I will be right back when this has cured. Now that we have our second coat of epoxy on the tumbler and it is completely smooth, we are going to go ahead and apply our vinyl wrap around the tumbler. I'm going to go ahead and preface this by saying initially I wanted to try to wrap the vinyl without having to cut the vinyl and trim the vinyl. And if you use a heat gun, you can manipulate the vinyl so that it will fit the area that you're wanting to place the vinyl on. But I wound up having to go ahead and cut the vinyl and sort of place the top part of the vinyl on the tumbler first, and then place the bottom portion of the vinyl on second. And I had to cut and trim a few pieces here and there, but all in all, when it was finished, you couldn't even see where the pieces were placed together. But again, that is due to using a little bit of heat and getting that vinyl to sort of soften and stretch a little bit and bend and things like that. So initially I wanted to try to stay away from that, but I wound up having to do that anyway, and it's okay. It still shows, how you can use vinyl on a curved or tapered tumbler to where it looks like it was applied in one wrap. So I'm going to go ahead and let the footage play out. And of course, it is sped up due to the amount of time that it took. But again, I just wanted to preface this section with letting you all know, what my intent was and what I wound up having to do and that sort of thing. But, it isn't super difficult. It just takes a little bit of patience and manipulation with using the heat gun. And you want to be careful. You don't want to overheat your vinyl. It can completely ruin your vinyl. Also, it can soften your epoxy below. And of course, you always want to be careful. Heat guns get very hot. So always be careful. You do not want to burn yourself. But with all of that being said, I'm going to go ahead and let this play out and play a little bit of music with it. So enjoy this section, and I'll see you when this is completed. here's our pretty shiny, smooth tumbler. And this is the decal. Now, I want to stress the importance of quality UVDTF'S. I purchased this one from Amazon. I'm not sure of who from Amazon I purchased it, but as soon as I started placing it on the tumbler, it just started cracking, and you can see where it cracked right here, it bubbled right there, and because I was having that issue with it cracking, then it got a little skewed right here. But prior to placing the decal on the tumbler, I did cut this little blob out of vinyl, permanent vinyl. It's a glitter vinyl, and I'll link it for you. But I did that to sort of mask. Remember, this was the area that the wrap didn't completely meet. It met here, and it opened up right here. So you can see there's like a little gap here. So I just put this vinyl on top of that to sort of mask that gap, and then placed the decal. So rather than placing the decal on this side and trying to do some kind of vinyl striping or fill in on this side, I just embraced that gap and made this little white background with the vinyl. So when you're using UVDTF'S, if you've never used one, it's kind of like a sticker, but then it has like a film on top that you remove from the decal. So again, I can't stress the importance of quality UVDTF'S. I'm not saying that you can't get quality UVDTF'S on Amazon. I purchase things from Amazon all the time. However, the clarity, because it was like a pack of like 20 or 30, and the clarity in some of them just wasn't to my standards, and some of the lettering was a little hard to read. So, you know, it is what it is. Now, I can either remove this UVDTF and place something different there, but because this is just for me, I'm just going to leave it and go ahead and place my final coat of epoxy. Now, one thing I did want to warn you about is a lot of these UVDTF'S or a lot of the vinyl decals, if you get alcohol on them, it will remove the ink. So be sure before you add your UVDTF that you've sanded the rim of the tumbler and wiped it with rubbing alcohol or a tack cloth or water, however you want to clean that up before you add your UVDTF. Because if you add your UVDTF and then sand the rim of your tumbler and spray it with alcohol, it could very well remove the ink on the UVDTF. Not all are like that, but some are. And again, I think that just depends on the quality of the UVDTF. And also if you're using just like a sticker cal, those can easily have the ink removed with alcohol. So, something to keep in mind. But look how pretty this is. I love this. The pink and the white and the red. I just think it's so pretty, and it's so sparkly and shiny. My lighting in my craft room is not the greatest, so in person it is a lot more shiny than you can probably tell on camera. But at any rate, there it is. So one more coat of epoxy for me and I'll be done. Again, you can, you know, if you have this incident, because what I did was I just took a marker, a permanent marker, like an acrylic marker and just filled in where it had split. And I mean, that's fine for me. But if you're not happy with that, you can remove it, put a different UVDTF or cut some vinyl. Totally up to you. But this tumbler is complete, and you know, so it shows you can use a vinyl to wrap a curved tumbler. It just takes a little finessing and a little maneuvering and all those things, but it can be done, and I love how this turned out. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope everyone has a blessed day.